Yo, what is up guys? Welcome back to a brand new F1 2020 video. Today we're back on F1 2020, but something completely different. We're doing a Nations Cup, which is organized by ORL. So yeah, very interesting, something different for once. Completely different teammates, of course, as I have to drive with my country mates. So teammates are Floris Wires, Timon Schutte and Matthijs, my teammate from Alfa Romeo, who was a test driver back then. So yeah, currently we're P2 behind Daniel Bresnay, who is very good, always around Spa-Francorchamps, my ex-teammate, so I know he's gonna be faster, like always, on Spa. Not just on Spa, of course, but Spa is a very strong track for him. So yeah, just warming up now. We currently have a 140.138. We've built it up quite nicely so far in this qualifying session. Didn't invalidate, just got my laps in and improved from the first to the second run by a little bit. Not ideal yet, of course, but gonna try and snatch pole position away. We're looking to get a 39.8. I feel like I can do a 0.7, but in the actual session, 0.8 is really my goal. But yeah, it's easier said than done. It's a very long track, so a lot of corners where you can make a mistake. Usually it's hard to get the longer tracks right compared to the shorter tracks, simply because there's more corners to make a mistake on. So as you can see, it's a traffic hour around Spa, trying to make a gap to one of the Force Indias ahead, and at the same time keep my tires warm, which is not easy. There's gonna be the first very low fuel run, of course, as well, you need to make it back to the pits as fast as possible, of course, in the runs before, so that gains you a little bit of time as well next to the track evolution. So now really weaving to keep the surface temperatures up before I start my lap. Gonna take a wide entry, like always, to take as much speed as possible into my flying lap as possible. Heading into turn 1, braking at 100 meters down to second gear, easy to lock up the right front as the track falls away, and then traction is always so hard as you kind of have to use that outside curb. I'm 2.5 hundredths down into Eau Rouge as I had a very good sector 1 on my previous lap, but there's so much time to gain for myself in the second sector, as that's the longest sector, so there's always a lot of time to make up most corners in there. So now heading into sector 2, down to 4th gear, use all the curb on both sides, and then short shift to 6th through here on the apex. You can see there to stabilize the car, and then downhill, easy to lock up the right front again. We do get it right, short shifting to 5th. As we go down the hill on the left hander, easy to take track limits on that outside curb. And one of the hardest corners on the calendar, P1, small lift, I missed the apex. Just minimum speed wasn't there, so lost a little bit of time there to an ideal lap. Down to 4th gear again, missed the ideal line a little bit, and again on the left hand there's well, a big snap of oversteer. So on this point I've already lost at least 1.5 tenths to an ideal lap. We are 1.2 tenths down to Daniel Bresnay going into the final sector, but my final sector is strong, so maybe we can make up the time through there. Now heading through Blanchimont, which is easy flat in the modern Formula 1 car, as we now head into the bus stop chicane, braking just after 100 meters down to second gear. Throw brake to get a car rotated. We do get it very nicely. Good traction as well coming out of the last corner, and coming across the line is at 39.983, 8 hundredths of Daniel Bresnay, and well, not ideal, of course. Lost a lot of time in the second sector. I think I was 2.5 tenths of my personal best second sector, so pretty poor from myself. Now we're gonna have to start on the softs, as we cannot choose our tires, of course, as we're heading straight into the race. It's a 25% race. There are gonna be 3 races. Second race is the reverse grid around Zandvoort, and the third race is a short qualifying again on Silverstone. But now it's time to head into the race. Starting behind Daniel Bresnay, 5 red lights. And away we go. You can see both me and Danny get a very good start. We absolutely gap the rest of the field going to turn 1. Heading into turn 1, you can see I get hit on the exit, which gives Daniel Bresnay an amazing run into Eau Rouge. And we're already 7.5 tenths behind just because we got hit. So now I'm gonna have to use a lot of my ERS heading onto the camel straight. You can see Barry is having a little look, but I'm just gonna keep using the overtake until I stay ahead. And I had a little bit of slipstream from Danny Beresnay as well. So I think we're running slightly lower downforce than Danny. I'm not sure though, as I think he was pretty fast in qualifying in Sector 2, but not as fast in Sector 1 and 3. So yeah, Sector 1 and 3 mainly just straights, with the bus stop chicane of course in the last sector, and turn 1 is basically the only corner of Sector 1. So now still 7.5 tenths behind. You can see he's gaining time through pawn, hence why I said he's probably running slightly higher downforce, or just got it right, or slightly better than us at least. But now 8 tenths behind Danny. I'm just gonna have to keep pushing to try and stay within his DRS. That's the main objective for now. I don't think we're really gonna be under threat from Barry in this race too much. As my main focus is Danny, who is really fast around here, as I said before. Not just qualifying but also in race pace. So just gonna aim to try and stay in this DRS, and then maybe we can do something later on in the race. As now we're going to the end of lap 4. Absolutely nothing happened in between, as all I want to do is recharge my ERS a little bit, because I had to use quite a bit to close the gap a little bit to Danny. And I'm going into the pits this lap to try and get the undercut, or at least cover the people off behind me. We're going for an undercut. As I go a little bit deep into the pits, you can see I was quite getting close to the wall as I understeered a little bit. But now coming into the pits, it's always the question: am I gonna get held in that first pit box? And the question is a little bit, but not too much. You know, I am holding up some people here, as Nicholas was a little bit lucky, I think so, that he got released into Barry. But I definitely gained some time to Barry, so that's good. Now coming out of the pits, a little bit of oversteer behind Fabricio Donoso, who had a drive-through penalty. Some people jumped the start.
Yeah,
actually,
can hold me up, surely.
Quite a lot of people jumped the start. So yeah, now I'm just gonna have to push to cover off some people who are going a little bit longer on the softs and maybe using a lot of ERS. Softs don't drop off as much. But yeah, I really just did not want to get undercut by people pitting early. We did pit quite early, but the mediums can make it easily without dropping off to the end. So that's why I wanted to cover it off and pit on the end of lap 4. You can see Tomac actually went at the end of lap 3 and managed to undercut Barry. So that just shows why I wanted to make that undercut. And now moving on to the end of lap 6. Danny Beresnay goes into the pits 2 laps later than us. Gonna be interesting to see if we manage to gain some time on him.
Now, in case Beresnay gets in between Bormant and Tomac.
So yeah, now coming out, you can see.
Okay, that was.
We didn't even undercut him at all. He just had very good pace on those mediums. He lifts for the DRS detection. I just didn't want to, as I felt like I was gonna be able to get P2 again. Anyway, I did use a little bit of overtake, as you can see there, as I didn't want to get in the threat from Tomac, as I think the P2 position is probably the most ideal one going into the final 4 laps. My battery is half charged, so kinda need to get it fully charged before we go into the final 2 laps. But yeah, we just have to try and stay within Danny's DRS for now, and then maybe we can do something at the end of the race. And now moving on to the end of lap 10, so we're gonna head into the final lap of the race. You can see green in the first 2 sectors, so that means both me and Danny are pushing quite hard at this point. You can see we've been gapping Barry a little bit so far. You can see 8.5 tenths. We clearly have more ERS than everyone else heading into the final lap, but 50%, which is basically around more or less the maximum you can use in a wall lap. I'm gonna get DRS. You can see full on this wall climb straight. I'm gonna use the overtake button, but I'm not gonna be close enough. You can see Barry behind, there's no ERS left. We have ERS. You can see Danny's light starts flashing, which means he's under 10% ERS, but we're just not close enough. I was having a little look in here. He did went a little bit wide, or maybe that's just his line, but yeah, now our only option left is on this final straight going towards the bus stop chicane. to have a chance there, we have to be as close as possible. But here, Danny has been so fast in this middle sector, so it's gonna be hard keeping up. You can see I went wide and took a warning. I had no warnings anyway, so I decided let's just send it, get a warning, and maybe still have an opportunity on this last lap. But we're just not close enough. Probably still half a second, and we do have more ERS than Danny, but I don't think it's gonna be enough. I'm gonna turn on the overtake through here and see if we can have a chance. Danny does the exact same, as you can see, but now his light starts flashing. We have slightly more, and we are gonna keep gaining because of this slipstream. I think we're also slightly lower on wings, so maybe we can have a chance into the bus stop chicane. You can see we're gaining all the time, heading into the bus stop chicane. We're gonna have a little look, but we're just too far behind. And if I did send that, then it would have been an accident. So decided to stay behind and did improve my fastest personal best, but well, it was just not enough. So yeah, unfortunately my teammate Timon disconnected, so P20, as it's reverse grid, he is still going to be starting P20, as it's only the top 15 that takes the reverse grid. So Alvaro Caraton is going to be starting P15, and yeah, the top 15, the point system is a little bit different. I will show it in a brief second, but yeah, P2, not too bad. We're going to be starting P14 for Zandvoort, so there's some work to do, of course, but especially around Zandvoort, it's not going to be easy to overtake. So as you can see here, point system, first place gets 25 points, second 21, third 18. So it's basically P1 gets the same amount of points, but it's just spread out a little bit less, so more people can score points. But anyway, let's head into the Zandvoort race now. Reverse grid starting P14, as I said before. Behind us is Danny Bresnay. Ahead of us is Barry Burmand and Nicolas Longue. So gonna be a tough race to fight from here. I was thinking about maybe starting on softs and then get the undercut on mediums, but quite late on I decided to go for the mediums, and then we can fight a little bit harder later on in the race. So now ready to start race 2, reverse grid from P14. It's 5 red lights and away we go. We have a pretty average start, I would say, to other medium runners. Danny Bresnay got an absolute storming start, and we're gonna go down the inside of one of Team France drivers in the Renault, and we're pretty clear in P13 going into turn 3, and now turn 4. We're using a little bit of the banking to our advantage, as one of the
front wing damage.
Team Italy teams got damage, as Crouch got pushed wide, and I got boxed in a little, and then Barry decided to make it 3 wide into that corner for some reason. Bit of a big risk, low reward action, but anyway, we're still P13, and now going wheel to with one of the Renaults, one of Team France drivers who is on the softs. Obviously we're not gonna win that, as Tomac is now behind. Sorry, that's not Tomac. One of Team Poland's drivers behind us on the softs as well, so it's gonna be tough to keep him behind in this race, as well, Team France ahead of me is on softs, so we're not really going to be able to fight that at this point in the race, as the Red Bull of Team Poland was closing in a little bit. So not enough though, so we're clear going into turn 1 once again, which is important because now we have more track position and the softs are only going to get slower from here on. So that's good. Still quite close behind Team France, as he has a little moment going into turn 4. But we're still fine. Not much happening at this point. It's just a train, so well, I think one of the racing points of Team Italy is going to be struggling in the next few laps. As you can see, Patrick Crouch behind him is going down the inside. They touch, actually, as the racing point has damage. So again, having a little look on the inside of Team France. I've now head into the final sector. Once again, Patrick making a move. They touch again, and now I'm trying to get past Team France. I'm boxed in behind Josh, who brakes pretty early going into here.
Hell, Josh. So slow.
Everyone was going so slow, but well, that obviously made sense because the Team Italy car has damage, so it makes perfect sense that the whole train was going slow. But well, at the time, I was focusing on Josh's car and not on the Team Italy car, as we get hit a little bit in there.
I got hit so
and 2 people collided after that. So no damage luckily, as I'm behind Josh now. Danny Bresnay has a little look around the outside. A lot of different lines you can take through there, so always interesting that corner. As you can, first of all, in qualifying take a lot of different lines, but also in the race it's very interesting for battling, as you can take different lines through there. But now George is stuck behind Team Italy, Lemulo, in the racing point. Josh having a little look there on the exit, but not really be able to do anything. As first lap we are having DRS actually, as Josh has a look down the inside, but goes a little bit deep into the chicane, and side by side they go through there on the exit. And now this corner is very tricky to take side by side. Lemulo has a little bit of a moment, we are taking advantage from that. You can see on the right hand side he has front wing end plate damage. You can see there Josh lights already flashing, which means
front wing damage.
He has no ERS. As you can hear me say, Josh no ERS. That's going to be interesting. Might go for an aggressive undercut to get DRS again from cars ahead, as the softs can go pretty far, you know. I think you can do around 13-14 laps on them, so going to be interesting to see what Josh is going to do here. Now moving on to the end of lap 7, Josh went into the pits 2 laps before me, so the end of lap 5 we are pitting at the end of lap 7, pushing the limits of course. Hard to see where the line was as the pit board was gone. So now 2.6 second pit stop, which is pretty standard of course. You can see there in the top left for a brief second, Danny Moreno 5-second penalty for speeding in the pits. So we have a chance of maybe getting him if we have good pace. Now coming out of the pits behind Josh, not too far actually, we're only a second behind, pretty much in clear air. Our teammate Timon behind us didn't disconnect this race, luckily so far. But now just gonna push to get back within the DRS. I'm not gonna use ERS to do that. I'm just gonna let the new tires do their work, and Josh is also in a little bit of dirty air, so we're gonna keep gaining time through here, and eventually we will catch up with the battling going up front. At this point I felt like I probably should have gone 1 or 2 laps longer, just like Danny Beresnay, but well, nothing I can change anymore, just have to get the most out of it at this point. And now Barry ahead of Josh, who went even 1 lap earlier than Josh, I think so. So he's going to be struggling towards the end on his tires. He also has a 3-second time penalty, and he's right behind Patrick Crouch, who is in the mediums at this point. Patrick started on the softs, so now going to get DRS from Josh. I tell Timon to push so we can get in front of Danny, who crossed the pit exit.
Beresnay pit exit.
As you can say, Danny got out. Went up a little bit wide and crossed the pit exit, which was said before, just before the race, that results in a time penalty. So Danny will get a 5-second time penalty, even though we didn't even report it ourselves, another team reported it. But yeah, now behind Josh still, and I think both Patrick Crouch from Team Poland and Josh from Team Rest of the World low in ERS, I think so. So kinda have to get past them as soon as possible, but at the same time I don't want to use too much ERS doing that. So yeah, a bit of a difficult situation here. I just really want to get past it. Danny behind me is closing in as well, and he has 1 lap fresher tires. Not going to use my ERS yet. As you can see, Josh went on the overtake mode, and now his light's flashing. So next lap I'm going to go for it. Josh can have a look into turn 1 maybe on Patrick. Decides to have a little look, but not enough. So once again, Patrick's staying ahead. But now both of them are struggling on ERS, so this is the prime time for me to attack. So now going into the final sector, as I said last lap, prime time to attack. I use a little bit of overtake here, so I close in and get more slipstream out of this corner. Dirty air is not too bad, as Josh has a little bit of dirty air as well. Josh's light starts flashing. I'm gonna keep using my overtake until I get completely passed. Patrick moves to the right, but that only gives me slipstream and just helps me. And because we have fresher tires, we can brake quite a bit later with more momentum because of the overtake, of course. And now we made 2 overtakes in the space of basically 1 corner. So that's a very efficient way of using my battery, if I say myself. But now we have to close in on Barry and then try to get past more people after that. We're not really in a fight with Barry because he has the 3 seconds, of course. Yeah, you never know, it might get removed because of some unfair battle or, you know. But yeah, we have to get past because he's on all the tires, of course. And if we want to move up this race further, then we have to get past eventually anyway. As now you can see, we are moving on to the end of lap 12. We've closed the gap to Barry, who has not been able to get past Ben Sabo. And now I'm going to use that 30% of battery I've left in this race to get past Barry. His light starts flashing. We have a lot of slipstream. And going into turn 1, I'm going to go down the inside, brake slightly later, and go down the inside here. As one of Team Turkey's go a little bit sideways. We do as well on the exit. And then here,
Wow. Wow.
so fucking dirty, holy shit. Barry just turns in turn 3 and then on the exit of turn 4 just doesn't leave us any space. You know,
So
in my
fucking
opinion, just extremely dirty. I was very surprised to see that. But yeah, I don't know why, because he had a 3-second penalty, of course. But well, even looking back, I'm still pretty angry about it. In the end, I pitted and went for the fast lap, but that's no points for us that race. And at the same time, Team Rest of the World gained only more points of that. So I'm even looking back at it now, I'm pretty pissed, of course. But we're gonna move on to the last race now. It's a wet qualifying, so we're gonna have free choice of tire in the race. But yeah, we still have to try and get the score on pole, of course, on those intermediates. At the moment, we are P1, as you can see in the top left. Josh Doe behind us in P2 and long way from Team France in P3. Currently a 1:33.103. Pretty solid, but there's definitely more time on the table, and I think we have to improve definitely this session. Usually, you know, the track improves a lot in wet conditions. From experience, I know that the track sometimes improves over half a second. So yeah, I think the first lap was a 1:33.7 or 8. You can see already we have a 1:33.1. Obviously the driving gets better as well. But now, this is the final qualifying lap. Gonna burn off some fuel, so we're lighter in my push lap. 2 minutes 7 remaining, so we can do a pretty chilled warm-up lap, you know. Not too many people around me, as some people go for 2 push laps in a row, which I did in my first stint as well. But for my second stint I only did 1 push lap, so slightly lower fuel, and I'm doing the exact same for the final flying lap. Floris, I think actually was going to do 3 push laps on his final set of tires. Put in enough fuel so he can get into a rhythm. And well, of course, tire wear wise, you're going to be slightly slower, but you will be in a slightly better rhythm. So it's easier to get a lap together. But now just gonna warm up those intermediate tires. One of Team Turkey cars behind me, also warming up his tires. I don't think there are a lot of people around me that are pushing. Danny Moreno decided to back off his lap and cool his tires a little bit, so I'm gonna get past him here, and we can do the final sector slightly faster than him as we are warming up our tires and not cooling them down. So 1 minute 5 remaining in this session. A lot of people still improving, of course, and as you can see, gonna have just enough fuel remaining to just do 1 push lap, so it's all or nothing in this final qualifying run. Starting my lap now, 7th gear into turn 1, a little bit of a lift, you cannot take it flat, we're quite low on downforce there around Silverstone for the race, and braking at the start of the curve down to 3rd gear. We managed to get that apex nicely, keeping it in 3rd gear and then down to 2nd before we're gonna short shift up to 4th to minimize wheel spin in these wet conditions. You can see I even short shift to 6th gear and still the back end wants to get away. We're 1.2 tenths up going into the 2nd sector, so we're already on for a 132. So going to rear again, a little bit of a time gain down to 3rd gear, short shifting to 4th and then short shifting to 5th as well. Gonna stay off that outside curb for maximum traction as Nicolas Longue goes P1. He is going to be able to do another push lap, but his tires will be slightly worse, of course. Downshifting to 7th. Backend wants to step out, you can see there, but we pretty much nail it on that exit. We missed the apex a little bit, but we kept good momentum. Down to 7th gear, into Maggots, down to 6th, and then into Baggots, down to 5th. Short shifting to 6th to minimize wheel spin again, keep the rear stable, and we're now 3 tenths up, 2.5 tenths up on the current pole position, going into Stowe now. Always tricky to get it right, very understeery on the exit. Wet conditions is going to be slightly more tricky and more to oversteer. As Danny Beresne goes to P1 with a 132.992 going into chicane. I didn't really get it right, I overslowed on minimum speed, but coming across the line, fighting the back end, it's going to be 132.826, which is going to be pole position by 1.5 tenths as Alessio Di Capua jumps Danny Beresne and Danny Moreno. So yeah, not a perfect lap, but it's by quite a margin enough for pole position, and I'm quite happy with it as well. Didn't practice that much for the Wall Nations Cup thing, as there was quite a lot of chaos in the last week. So yeah, anyway, our teammate Flores is doing Silverstone, as it's quite a strong track for him, in P15, disqualifying. He validated his last lap, which would have gotten him a lot better. So now you see there, I'm actually planning to start on the softs. You're not hallucinating. I'm actually starting on the softs with a free tire choice for once. Just want to do something different, and it's going to be quite important that we pull away in the opening laps, of course. And Alessio Di Capua behind us, starting on soft as well. Heading straight towards the race now as formation lap. It's boring. You can see a lot of people on mediums as well, but important that together with Alessio Di Capua, I'm starting on the soft so we can together pull away in the opening phase of the race. 5 red lights. And away we go. Initially, not a great start, but in the second phase you can see we gain what we lost in the first phase back. And heading into turn 3, we're going to be leading first braking zone of the race. A little bit of understeer as my front tires are probably cold by the time we go into turn 3. We are absolutely clear of everyone going through sector or the first section. And Danny Moreno and Danny Beresne, I think, fighting a little bit in that first section. 4th track position, Nicolas Longue, I think, dropped a little bit back as Common from Team Poland is into P5 now on the mediums as well. A lot of people on mediums. So, but well, softs can pretty much do the whole race, so don't be surprised if some people pull into the pits in the first lap of this race. We're obviously not going to do that because the softs are a really good race tire around Silverstone. Hence why some people might pit at the end of the first lap. So now you can see I used quite a bit of ERS already, but that's what we need. We need to pull out of the DRS from the medium runners. Both me and Alessio S. I didn't get that right. I hit the grass, which slows your momentum so much as we head into Stowe. Half a second out of Alessio. 65% battery as well. So now heading into the chicane. This is where the soft runners gain a lot, and I think Danny Moreno pulls into the pits. As I said, don't be surprised if some people pit on the first lap for softs. As I said, softs very good race tire, and now Danny's going to be in clean air pushing, but at the same time he's not going to be gaining that much because my softs are only 1 lap old. So the pace advantage is not going to be that big to watch us, as well, the softs have no tire wear basically at this point in the first lap of the race. Still 1 lap fresher, so it's going to be a little bit faster, but not that much, of course. So as you can see now, moving on to the end of lap 5, Alessio is going to go for it. We only have 40% ERS, as I kind of wanted to cover off some of the people that went for the undercut. Alessio into P1 now. I'm not going to use any ERS to fight that back, because if we fight, we're only going to lose this race more. Because we're going to be losing time, losing our battery, and I prefer to save that battle for the end. Pit stop is 28.5 seconds, so we're still 3/10 safe from Danny Moreno, 2/10 at this point. But our softs are dropping off slightly more than his, of course, as ours did the start and the first lap. So by the end of this lap, he's probably just going to be ahead of us, unless he was really pushing it with the ERS. I'm going to recharge it.
ERS
so
levels of Bresnay?
ERS on 48.
Okay.
So I'm going to be recharging it, and then once I get in traffic, I can easily overtake again with the ERS that I have. So now you can see Danny Moreno 28.54, and he's going to be gaining slightly in the next few sectors, so he's going to undercut us definitely. But Danny Bresnay 28.8 and closing in as well. So it's quite important that we get in between Bresnay and Moreno, but it's not looking very likely now, as the softs are slowly starting to lose a little bit of pace compared to theirs. Especially Bresnay, who pitted, I think, end of lap 4 or 5.
Yeah, well.
So, yeah, very interesting. You see Alessio's light flashing. He's really pushing it on this in lap. We're not. We're gonna recharge our battery in the pits, probably to around 85%. Just making sure I get a clean pit entry.
Was under 10 going into Stowe.
Yep.
And now, as you can hear me say, Alessio was under 10% battery into Stowe, and this pit stop is going to be crucial, of course, but usually it's always around 2.5, 2.6 seconds, as you can see there, to keep it more fair. Codemasters still need to figure out what fair pit stops is, of course, with the holding up in league racing. But anyway, now coming out of the pits, it's looking like we are going to get an undercut by Danny Bresnay. But no panic yet. We're going to have mediums which are going to be wearing out slower and are going to have less tire age than the others. As you can see, Alessio did went out in P1, but he has no ERS, of course, because he pushed so hard. Long way on the softs, of course. Tried to have a little look on us, but didn't manage to get past, and he has no ERS as well, as Matthijs told me. So now P4 with a full battery and new mediums. Alessio did recharge as well, of course, in that pit stop, but we are gonna have more battery than most people around us for sure. Now moving on to the start of lap 9, we are 2.5 tenths behind Danny Bresnay, still with 80% battery, as Nicolas Longo is behind us as well. But going into here, you see I'm almost on the back of his, and now I'm gonna have a little look into this left-hander, which puts him off the racing line and on the dirty stuff. You can see back end sliding around, and now we're 1 tenth closer than we were originally heading into that section. And I'm going to use my battery to try and have a look here into Brooklyn's around the outside. We're holding on, and now we have the inside, which means we have slightly more grip to here. You can see back end stepping out. We're fighting the oversteer on the exit, but we managed to pull it off. Just about, of course. Amazing racing from Danny as well, just leaving us enough space. Very fair driving. Can't say that of everyone so far in this championship. So GG's to Danny. Absolute amazing racing, like always. I know we had a few incidents in league racing in the past, but quite clearly there were always racing incidents. You know, always gonna have some incidents here and there sometimes, but that was absolute spot on. Very respectful driving. And now we are on the back of Alessio Di Capua. I kind of hoped we have a little bit more ERS than Alessio, but I wasn't sure. We definitely are having more ERS than Danny Moreno. We're on slightly old softs as well,
okay.
So they're going to be dropping off a little bit in the next few laps for sure. And now we move on to the final lap of the race. Nothing happened in between, so I really want to skip through that, as it's quite a long video, of course, but I have to fit in 2 qualifyings and 3 races into this video. But now back to the race. You can see using all of my ERS available, Danny Bresnay behind me doing the same. Engine is overheating from all the dirty air we've been in all race long, basically, or ever since we pitted. Alessio is having a look on Danny Moreno going into the final chicane. They both go wide. Alessio pushes Danny wide, and we made the absolute
go.
undercut of
fucking
dreams, the switchback, and we managed to win our first race in the Nations Cup with a little bit of luck, of course.
Thanks.
Um,
What the fuck?
Danny Bresnik comes home in P3. Danny Moreno in P4 after he got brutally pushed off by Alessio. I think it's quite clear what happened there. Alessio didn't give any space after, I think, just going too deep into the corner. And basically, both went wide after that. So
Was okay.
I had a lot more grip on the asphalt than they had on the grass, of course. And well, after or not DNF last race because I finished the race with non-point scoring position, we managed to get back onto the podium and the top step as well. Very good win. Very happy with it as well. I think we choked the strategy a little bit by starting on softs, but anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more, and see you guys next time. Ciao.